Hello, welcome to a new course, Global Trade and Politics. This is a course where we'll be able to look in depthly into the understanding of power and economics, where it's actually where economics and power meets together. We look at the global view of trade in alignment with politics. And this is very important because it has to do with how the economy of a nation would actually be. We see the theories that uh, we have in global trade and politics. We bring it to practical aspects where we look at examples of trades, global trades, and politics related issues that has happened before. Today, in the first module, we'll be talking about introduction to global trade and politics. We'll be introducing ourselves to what it is to when we talk about global trade and politics and some other concepts that it entails. And global trade and politics are interconnected pillars shaping the international system, economic, political, and social dynamics. Actually, no country is fully self-sufficient on our own, and that makes international trade essential for the prosperity and development of each of these nations. So, political institutions govern interaction between states through diplomacy, law, and governance framework, uh, influencing trade terms and the outcome. So, just like I said, we look into the fundamental concepts and historical context of global trade and politics. And we're going to emphasize the complexity of international relations and commerce, setting the stage for advanced discussion. And the first thing we need to look into is the meaning of global trade and what global politics is. Global trade is the exchange of goods and services across borders, involving imports and exports. It actually enables countries to specialize based on comparative advantage and rely on complex global value chain. So it's a trade between countries. It involves importation and exportation across borders, and this is what global trade is. And trade is governed by rules from bilateral to multilateral agreements, as we'll be seeing as we go on in the lecture, influenced by political decisions. And for global politics, we have it to mean that um, it studies interaction among states and non-state actors in an anarchic international system. It involves power, alliance, diplomacy, and governance institution. And the likes of this are the UN, and then we have the WTO, World Trade Organization. And this, we will see what they actually do. And political decisions shape trade policies and international cooperation. What actually is the relationship? What are the interrelationship of trade and politics? Are these actually related? And that is why we need to check this together. When we talk about the interrelationship of trade and politics, political segment or sectors has influence on trade, and this is in the likes of policies like tariff sanctions and trade liberalization affects trade flow and economic relations. So policies that are made by the government actually have influence, affect trade flow. And that is why it is very important to look into these two together. Also, trade impacts has impact on politics in the sense that economic independence can foster cooperation or lead to disputes and conflicts. Another thing when we talk about the interrelationship of trade and politics is the trade agreements as political too. And we see that agreements like that of NAFTA, AS, AFCFTA, and the EU single market reflects strategic political interests. And lastly, and the interrelationship of trade and politics is the governance and stability. And political stability and governance quality influence trade, participation, and investment. So if there is no stability in a nation or in a country, there will surely not be a boost in the trade of the nation. So that is why it is very important that both politics and trade work hand in hand. We have the historical and evolution of global trade. How did we arrive at global trade, and till now, what are the characteristics of each of these periods? The first is the pre-modern trade, and this talks about the Asian barter system, which evolved into long-distance routes like the Silk Road and Indian Ocean trade, exchanging of goods and ideas. So that is we can pick the history from the pre-modern trade, where we they deal with barter system like trade and barter, and they do this by going through oceans and Silk roads to be able to exchange goods and ideas. And another thing is the mercantilism um, uh, era, which is between the 16th to 18th century, where states control trade aimed at accumulating wealth via exports, colonial exploitation, and protectionism. The another trade era is the Industrial Revolution, which is the third one. It actually involves the mechanized production and free trade principle, expanded markets, and global integration. We have the 20th century, the another era called the 20th century, and this is characterized by the wars and crises led to protectionism. Post-war institutions like IMF and GATS promoted cooperation and liberation. We will begin to see as we go on understanding what protectionism is and some other keywords that are very important to take note of. And now, the last era is the 21st century, where we talk about the digital economy, the likes of China's rise, the geopolitical conflicts, and sustainability shaping complex trade dynamics. So these are the eras taken from the historical path and the evolution of global trade. Um, we have political ideologies and trade policies, and we need to actually know them before we move forward. We have the likes of the liberalism, the socialism, the nationalism, and the conservatism. The liberalism advocates for free trade and a minimal government interference in trade and global market integration, while that of socialism, they emphasize state control in trading and fair trade and social welfare alignment in trade policies. The nationalism focuses on protectionism, self-sufficiency, and skepticism towards international institutions. And lastly, the conservatism, they support strategic protection and bilateral agreement to preserve national interest. What are the key concepts in global trade politics? There are some major concepts that we do not have to leave. And just like I said, we will still look into them. And one, we have sovereignty, globalization, liberalism, and protectionism. protectionism, and we will still talk broad on them, but just to have an understanding of them. Sovereignty means the state's authority to govern without external interference and balancing trade commitments and policy autonomy. And for globalization rather, it's increasing interconnectedness through trade, capital, and information with benefits and challenges. And when we talk about liberalism, it is the philosophy promoting free markets, competition, and reduced trade barrier for economic growth. And lastly, when we talk about the protectionism, it deals with policies shielding domestic industries via tariffs, quotas, and regulations, which are often politically motivated. What are the contemporary challenges in global trade? When we talk about global trade, it's um, has its own challenge also. And we talk about the likes of geopolitical conflicts. There are conflicts in the geographical areas of politics, like that of the US-China trade war, the Brexit, and Russia-Ukraine, like we are having presently, disrupt supply chain and trade assumptions. This war or conflicts that we have in each of these regions disrupt the supply chain, and this is a very great challenge in global trade. And we also have the like of pandemic when there was COVID-19 pandemic, and this also exposed vulnerabilities, which prompted reshoring and diversification of supply chains. Another challenge is the digital economy, the likes of e-commerce and data trade, reshaping commerce, raising cybersecurity concerns. We have issues of cybersecurity increasing, and it's really a challenge in global trade. And the last is sustainability, and it's growing focus on environmental protection, ethical labor, and fair um, trade practice. This is also a challenge for global trade where um, these are not actually met. In conclusion, the model have recognized how trade and politics shape economy and social development globally. It has also helped to learn from trade evolutions from ancient routes, the Silk Road, the Indian Ocean, and to this digital economy in 21st century. And it has also addressed geopolitical tensions, technological changes, and sustainability demands. However, global trade and politics have been seen to foster um, fair, stable, and inclusive global economic governance for future prosperity. We have the notes fully explained, and you can go through the notes. Next module, we'll be talking about the theories of international trade. Thank you.